Welcome back, my friends, to TFT Hyperroll with Autarch and what will be the final build video for this season. And you can skip to the end to find out why this is probably the final video on the channel. Having a Janna and Diana straight out of the NPC round, I was pretty sure I wanted to go with Sage Dragon Lord at this point. So it's just a matter of going through the different augments and seeing what we get. Pick of the litter is tempting because we can end up getting two Dianas, which it does not give us, but it's worth a little extra money. So we can then go ahead and roll for things that we might need. As I mentioned at the start of the season, this is one of my favorite comps, not because it's really reliable. It actually has a really weak start and relies on very particular champs at the end, but I found it the fun one to play, and it didn't get stale as it went along. The key is stacking Dragon and Sage. The problem is that your Dragon Lords, two of them are up at 4 and 5, and Sage, same thing, up at 4 and 5. So unless you get those 5 costs, you don't get to maximize the trait, but you might squeak out some wins here and there. Items for Diana, I am non-traditional. I like to go Titan's Resolve, Hextech Gunblade, and Jeweled Gauntlet. I find them very effective because with Sage, since she's starting in the front two lines, she's going to get a lot of Omnivamp. But again, that's once you get enough Sage. At 2 Sage, you're not getting that much. It is time to look at the second set of augments, and I do not have to look long. We are going for the Dragon Lord crown because it's the only way you're getting the 5 Dragon Lords. Then, because I wanted to do something different, I decided to add the Rage Blade to Diana. I normally put that on Janna as I find it a great item for her, but I just wanted to go with Diana to see how fast her attacks could get, especially since the Dragon's Breath itself is going to increase their speed, and then with the Titan's Resolve and Hextech, she should still do decent damage. And the Rage Blade seems to be working really well, although I wouldn't suggest it unless you're really going to be able to get to the 4 Dragon Lords early, because you're going to be counting on them getting stunned. Otherwise, Diana's likely not going to hold up as long, but for this part of the match, it's going really well. And I like to finish this build off with Annie, as that will not only tick Invoker, she also makes an absolutely fantastic tank. As we've seen, if you can get her to gold 3 stars, she is probably the best in the game, but even at 1 star, she will hold things up long enough that the rest of your team can clean up. It is time for the final set of augments, and nothing really exciting here. Still don't get Infernal Contractor, why anyone would take it in the Hyperroll, like, at all. Impenetrable Bulwark's not going to work, so we're just going to go with the Radiant Relics and hope we can get a good tank item, which Dragon's Will is a fantastic tank item, so we can go ahead and put that on Galio, and then even put a Dragon's Claw on top of that, so Galio will be healing a lot. And you may have noticed I always have Diana in the second row, and that's because I don't want her to pick up primary aggro. I want the frontline tanks to get that, and Diana to start getting some swipes in to build up her Titan's Resolve, and in this case, also her Rage Blade, although I normally don't have that, so it's more about the Titan's Resolve. But you can see that allows her to get up to full strength and help finish things off. Riven is also a part of the build for 2 reasons. One, she's going to help summon the Kale, which is in the AP position, and then also we'll tick Altruist with Rakan once we can get a Rakan into the match, and that will help give just a little bit of extra tankiness to the team overall. Not that this team in its current form really seems to need it. And we managed to pick up a Rakan during the NPC round. We can go ahead and start tanking up Annie a little bit, although Sunfire Cape is a little repetitive just because she also burns, but I think those burns actually end up stacking since they're slightly different. Rakan, we want to get a Spear of Sojin on him so he can ult more often. At 5 Dragon Lord, your team becomes kind of evil. The dragon is going to do a lot of damage as well as stun the opposing team, which with all of the champions that are involved is going to give you a chance to finish them off pretty quickly. And this person ended up winning the RNG lottery in terms of getting a 2-star Lysandra at this point, as well as a 3-star Lux in the corner. So that Lysandra is going to be able to do a lot of damage, turning all of our champions into pots and converting them into either cash and prizes for the opposing team. This is not something I'm particularly worried about, because I feel that once we get to the 5 Dragon Lord 4 Sage, we become a little bit unbeatable, unless someone throws a 3-star 4-cost at it. We're going to go ahead and grab the Hextech Gunblade for Rakan, so he's healing a little bit of everyone else as he goes. And then we face off against the Ghost team of a Fortune team. So, yeah, this one shouldn't be too difficult, as Fortune in and of itself is a little bit weak, but also when you're dealing with the Ghost team, it's a little bit weaker. We do get a little stuck on the Kabuko, but that's to be expected. But after getting through that, you can say it with me, we are now into the top 4. Nothing I really want here. I'd rather have a healing item for Wukong, so I'm going to grab the Infinity Edge and then reforge it, but I'm also going to bring Morgana in for the Crazy Plant Lady, even though that temporarily gets rid of our Kale. Unfortunately, we reforge into a Sunfire Cape, which we already have on Annie, so we can go ahead and just put this one on Riven. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose on that. And this Fortune team is sitting on a ton of rewards. You can see 71 over their marker. And if they manage to win this fight, it'll go up and they will get a lot of stuff. But yeah, this is a 5 Dragon Lord team, which is nearly unbeatable. Again, unless you manage to get yourself a 3-star 4-cost, you're going to have a lot of trouble getting through this team. So just like that, the match is down to a 1v1 against 2 people who have not lost that much this entire time. That team has a 3-star 4-cost in Silas. So this now presents a problem, because while I feel Silas isn't the strongest of the 4 costs, it's still a 3-star 4 cost. We can go ahead and grab the Rage Blade for Rakan and then start rolling and seeing what we can find of our own that might be able to counter the 3-star 4 cost. We can get the Dragon's Claw for Annie to make her a little bit tankier, but I've got 2 lives to figure this out. Well, I can lose this next match and then the next one's death. And I already know how this first round is going to go, simply because we don't have anything to really counter that Silas. So he is going to be able to get in and do a ton of damage. You can see that he's able to slip in on the side. They've got a lot of healing on him. We are holding our own to some extent, but not necessarily enough to completely counteract it. So Silas, yeah, that's going to be a problem. But look in our shop. We have locked for a second 2-star Rakan and then one more after that. So if we can get the gold 3-star Rakan here, which is going to involve selling off most of the team and hoping we can find that one Rakan that we can then take up with a champion duplicator, yeah, we didn't have a chance until then. Now, normally the 3-star 4-cost is going to help, but you get a gold legendary against you, and yeah, that's going to be a whole different story. So, along with the 5 Dragon Lord, yeah, Rakan can pretty much clean house with well over 30,000 damage. Now, they are on their way to a 3-star Irelia, as they have 2 2-stars and their 3-star Silas. But, of course, this fight is not going to be any different, because Rakan is just going to take control of it. And I could have picked up an Irelia to completely spoil, but decided to roll past it and then just keep an eye on them to see if they get there. And then was hoping to see what a 3-star Irelia could do against a 3-star Rakan, but they could not quite get there, and so Rakan is able to just go in and finish everything off, and it's very quickly GG for everyone. Hope you enjoyed this series and this season and this channel, and as always, hope you have an absolutely awesome day. And now, the epilogue. So in the middle of February this year, I mentioned in a video that I had received this text that told me I was not going to like set 11, and that was entirely accurate. And shortly after I posted my video saying that I was done with this season and possibly TFT if things didn't change, I had a series of texts that you can pause to read, but I'll just kind of summarize as they go by. It would appear that based on their own surveys and observations of the sets that they currently have, people like the RNG elements. And going forward, the game is going to be relying more on those than on the strategy elements that I really liked. I asked here about Season 12, and they just told me it's like a summer party with invaders and mentioned that Singed is back, but would not say anything else about it. I also asked about those stupid animations at the end and whether we'll ever get the ability to turn them off, and the answer was no, not gonna happen. Asked about the future of hyperroll and was basically told, yeah, it is going to change and that I would not like those changes, so I suspect it's going to be even more RNG based than it is right now. They did recommend the new PvE mode coming out this summer. I know a little bit about it, but not much, and then they were gone. And one final thing before I sign off for either ever or just a long time, I got a message from someone about this. If you create a new Riot account, you are not allowed to enter hyperroll or even the event mode that they're running right now until you play 3 normal games. I can't even comprehend the thinking that went into this. I can understand maybe gating double up since you might be impacting someone else, but this is a solo game. If somebody wants to jump into ranked, let them. If someone wants to jump into hyperroll, let them. What are you doing, Riot? The event mode is gated? But okay, and enough about that. And yeah, I'll miss TFT and making videos for the channel, but I'm not going to be able to do it with this current game in the form that it's in. I hope it changes some way in the future, but I highly suspect the RNG crowd has won the war. If I find a replacement game or I get a text saying like, hey, they've changed direction, I'll let you know and then I'll be back to making videos. Otherwise, thank you so much for all the support over both channels and all these years. And I hope, as always, you have an absolutely awesome day.